Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today I am playing a deck that I haven't played for a little while, weirdly, which is my beloved Green Black Turbodepths. This is pretty much my signature deck, but I've been, jamming lots of new Warhammer 40k cards and all sorts of stuff. So it's time to get back to what I know and love. So here we are. For those who are unfamiliar, this is a deck that wins purely through making Merit Lage. So this is a 2020 indestructible flyer. You get it if your Dark Depths has no ice counters on it. Vampire Hexmage removes all the ice counters, and Thespian stage becomes a copy that has no ice counters on, so it immediately becomes a 2020. To facilitate this, we have 8 tutors, and a bunch of fast mana to help power this out quicker, and we've also got some hand disruption, and some other protection, so things like Not This World to protect from removal spells, and Pithing Needle to get around Wasteland, Caracas, that sort of jam. We've got a few silver bullets in the land, for example, Bojuka Bog, Ghost Quarter, Sejiri Steppe, to push through our creature or destroy an opposing Caracas or whatever. We're not running Wasteland because we're normally putting the Needle on Wasteland. That's why we have the Quarter. And we have 2 Boseijus which can do those things as well as being able to hit some problem permanents like an Ensnaring Bridge or a Blood Moon or whatever. I do like having the 2 Boseiju. I found them very useful indeed. And yeah, that's pretty much how we're winning the game. Sideboard wise, we've got ways to stop things that stop us. So Duress, so we can pick apart counter spells or whatever, or removal spells that don't target, things like Shoulder's Edict, for example. And we've got some Abrupt Decays, so Opposition Agent, Blood Moon, Mages of the Moon, Ensnaring Bridge, that sort of jam. That's what these are for, things that stop us. Removal spells stopping us, well, we've got another Not of This World in there. This current list I'm on only has 3 Not of This World in the main, because a lot of the white removal was kind of gone from the format. People seem to be more towards like black decks. So this isn't as effective as it once was. But when you do need it, you need it. So that's why it's there. So those are the things to stop decks that are trying to stop us. But then there are some decks that go underneath us. So we've got some Leyline in the Void as our graveyard tech. So we've been running Surgical Extraction lately. But I wanted to try Leyline in the Void because there's quite a lot of Reanimator style decks at the moment. A lot of people messing around with Dredge and things like that due to Poxwalkers being online. So I just wanted to try the sort of best turn 0 graveyard hate we could find. And yes, the blue-black Rescaminator build is able to play a non-Reanimator game quite effectively. The thing is, the non-Reanimator game isn't actually very good against what we're doing as a general rule, because we get to ignore things like Bowmasters, and Grief can't take lands out of our hands, so we can usually beat that sort of thing. So that's why I'm trying some Leyline in the Void today. And then there are some artifact decks that just go underneath us, whether that's the One Ring decks, where they power out a bunch of stuff, the like Coveted Jewel decks, or just good old-fashioned the Epic Storm with a bunch of 0-drop artifacts. So we've just got 4 ways of stopping those decks. And yeah, that's the plan. This particular list is probably going to be a little bit colder to Doomsday than the previous builds we've run, because Surgical Extraction sometimes buys you a little bit extra time, and combined with a bunch of discard, we can, take a Doomsday and extract it, and that can be the game. However, there's not as much Doomsday as there once was, and I want to try these Leylines out to see how they work. Because if you don't keep changing things up and trying it, you never really learn and improve. Alright, so here's the list. If you're interested in this, I have lots of content for this on my Patreon, including a monthly updated guide to the whole deck and the card choices, which covers both this and the Rainbow Depths build. Okay. With that said and done, remember to like and subscribe, and let's start 2020ing people. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Right, we are on the play for Game 1. We have a turn 3 uncountable 2020 with protection from Wasteland and a Not of This World to back it up. We'll keep this. This should beat most decks, but combo decks will go underneath us and beat us. So the land sequencing here is interesting. So we have 2 Thespian stages, so we don't mind if one of them gets wastelanded if our Needle doesn't resolve. Also, by playing this out, we're unlikely to draw like runner, fast mana. Or our opponent could make us draw like through some kind of Echo of Eons type thing or whatever and replace our hands. By having this one out, it means that we can still do our turn 3 combo. We can still play our Pithing Needle on turn 1. But we also get the ability that if something weird happens, we end up drawing some more cards, we could end up with 2 bits of fast mana so we can go off a turn early. So here's a Wasteland. Let's hope, Pithing Needle on Wasteland, let's hope this does something. So next time we can play out this Yavimaya. or this Dark Depths, depending on what our opponent does. We're probably going to want to keep the Dark Depths in hand till the end, just in case something goes wrong with this Pithing Needle. But we're pretty immune to discard here. Yep, you can take on Not of This World, but you're going to have like your one-off Brazen Borrower sort of thing for these kinds of... Oh, well, we don't really know what our opponent's playing. Marsh Flats into Underground Sea. This is probably... Okay, this is quite nice. So play out this Yavimaya. So we now have Bojuka Bog protection if there's something scary like an Archon of Cruelty that's going to ruin our day. And the Thespian stage is something we can pitch because we have another one. It does slow us down, obviously, but Archon of Cruelty is very hard for us to beat. Alright, we have access to a 2020. Whether or not we fire it off depends what our opponent does with their mana. Right, so they're brainstorming here. We can decide if we're going to make it in their turn. Because we have the Pithing Needle on Wasteland, we don't need to do it in their upkeep or anything. Normally you would, against a Wasteland deck or a deck that you think might have Wastelands, you tend to do it in their upkeep if they don't have any Wastelands on the field. Alright, they're brainstorming, then brainstorming again just to look one card deeper. I think we might get a concession, or they're going to find the card that beats us. Or we might find another cantrip. Are we supposed to play into this or not? If we wait one more turn, we get access to protection. So I think we might as well do it with a little bit of protection. Although this protection does run into discard. Okay, this is interesting. So if we play out this Urborg, we can play this Hexmage, and this uses less resources if something goes wrong. Now this does play into opponent's counter spells, but we leave up crop rotation. Alright, so they're just going to force of all this. So we are slowing this game down a little bit. Snapcaster Mage. We're getting some more information which doesn't hurt. This feels more like a Grixis control deck. And Orcish Bowmasters, we do not care about that one. Next turn we can do the Thespian stage Dark Depths with crop rotation backup. Now our opponent does get a chance to try and find some more answers. But they did use 2 cantrips earlier. So I think our line here is fine. If we didn't have the crop rotation, I would have gone for it. But the fact that we did have some protection that we could use, and we can try and exhaust some other spells from our opponent, because by exhausting that, it means this crop rotation is way more likely to do something. Okay, so this is a very good draw for us here. So we can Inquisition our opponent as well as making our 2020 and crop rotation. So we just have so much agency here. Okay, so there is a Source to Plowshares. So they do have an answer, and they had a Force of Will. So we were very much right to wait here. And we get to see what our opponent's doing. It looks like Esper Stoneblade of some description. So we will not be making a sorcery speed thing because of the prismatic ending. So they're going to attack and see if they can bait us into making this 2020. We'll say no. And then we just make our 2020 end of turn. Our opponent was drawing off the top here. So, alright, so we copy this. We keep the Thespian stage. And then 2020. Did you draw another plow? Let's play this one out just in case we have more mana to fight around something. Alright, so we got the game there. So we were paid off for going a bit slower there. But like I said, that's because we had a tool that made going slower make more sense. Normally if your opponent's cantripping and stuff like that in a blue deck, then you don't want to be going slower if you don't have anything in the hand that makes that make sense, if you know what I mean. You just kind of have to test them sometimes. So this is the matchup where we have to play around some white removal. So I'll be playing this Not of This World. I think these Duresses are also going to be useful. We've seen Snapcaster Mage, which means Leyline can potentially stop something, but our opponent would have to hold up 3 mana to have this plow. And we can hopefully just play around that with other bits and pieces. So this matchup is probably going to go a touch slower, so we can afford to trim out some of our fast mana. So we'll probably get rid of a Spirit Guide. 2 Spirit Guides I think we'll get rid of. And then from our lands, I don't believe we're going to need this Bojuka Bog, so I'm going to take that one out. Always look at what lands you can afford to pull out in matchups. Yes, they have Snapcaster Mage, but it doesn't look like they're reanimating stuff. They look like a Stoneblade style deck. Now, we could bring in something like Abrupt Decay to deal with Stoneblade, but that doesn't really feel great to me. Like, we should just be able to erase that. So let's submit this. We just got a whole bevy of hand disruption. So what does our hand do? I'll tell you what it doesn't do, and that's make a 2020. So I'm going to throw this one back. This one does make a 2020 with 2 pieces of hand disruption. I will keep this. What are we getting rid of? We can get rid of the Bayou and play on... I don't really want to play on basics though, because we want to be able to have black potentially. Although if we throw back the Bayou, we can play on basics or we can play on a Bayou. It's just going to cost us 1 more life. And I think that's probably going to be fine in the context of this matchup. Alright, so we're going to get hit by a Thoughtseize on turn 1. We are. Alright, you can see that we have the combo rolled up, but we have some hand disruption. We're not going to fire this hand disruption off immediately. Actually, is that true? I think because we're a touch slow, we might want to fire off the Thoughtseize while our opponent's tapped out and can't brainstorm. And we can hit things like the Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, they went for the Duress rather than the Thoughtseize. So that means our opponent's probably going to be on like an aggressive line where they want this 2 damage. And they don't care about what we find. So this one will get us a basic swamp. Then the other one can get us whatever later on after we've seen our opponent's hand. Alright, let's have a look at our opponent's hand. Murktide Regent, Batterskull, Stoneforge Mystic, and a Thoughtseize. So the Batterskull is kind of annoying because that puts them above 20 life. So I think the play here is probably to take the Stoneforge. We should be able to get through a Murktide Regent. The other option here is to take the Ponder, but I'm going to take the Stoneforge here because if they start making additional sort of life, then it turns on things like Prismatic Ending to actually kill our creature, and that is no good. Right, so they kept 1 land when they drew the land without having to ponder, but they had a ponder to look for the land anyway. Well, that doesn't always work, as I found out at the last tournament I went to. A European Legacy Masters qualifier the other day, and I got rolled twice by keeping ponder, basic island, brainstorm, and not finding second land. That's pretty rough. But I digress. Let's get back to 2020ing people. Right, they're not firing off that Thoughtseize, which is interesting. Okay, so we're going to play out this Thespian stage here. And actually, we play out the Lotus Petal first. And then we play out the stage. Then we'll play out this Pithing Needle. We'll still name Wasteland. Our opponent's deck could definitely contain Wastelands. It could also contain a Karakas, which is another problem. But that's going to be a face-up problem. So we can play around that as and when we see it. The reason we play out the Thespian stage there is if we play the Dark Depths next turn, we can just go. Because we have the fast mana. So our opponent does know our hands. They know that we can combo next turn. So they might just be deploying a Murktide Regent as a thing that we're going to have to batter through. Okay, so they found the Stoneforge Mystic. So we have perfect information on our opponent's hand. Those are called a complete. Sure. And they're going to Thoughtseize us. Sure, that's fine. It fails to hit anything. This just gives them a card for Murktide Regent, though. That's the reason for doing it. It does mean that a single Batterskull connection won't stop them from dying to a 2020 though. Alright, so we now have the 2020 in play, ready to go. Our opponent is drawing off the top because they cracked a fetch land after their ponder. Okay, so we have perfect information. So they need to play the Murktide and block with it. So this is going to be... Oh, yeah, this is fine because then they still have blue up for the Murktide. So they're going to put in... What do they put in here is the question. Okay, they are putting in the Cauldron. Because what they could do is survive a hit with this and maybe find a way to survive. I don't know the composition of their deck. Alright, so here comes the Murktide Regent. As expected. So this can exile our Marit Lage. So we're just going to take the hit from this. So their plan is to try and race while chump blocking once with Murktide Regent, which is fine. Like, it's what they have available to them. It makes sense. If they can draw some removal from our guy, then obviously we'll lose. Alright. Let's make a 2020. So, Sejiri Steppe, or Crop Rotation, or not Sylvan Scrying though. That does not win us the game here. We'll play this land out. We'll go to attacks and eat this Murktide. Our opponent has 1 turn to rip the answer. They can't deploy another Murktide. But if they don't find the answer, they can't really do anything here. If they can trump for another turn with something, then the race becomes a bit interesting. But again, we're drawing live to Sejiri Steppe and also, oh no, they've drawn the ending. Ending would be the worst because then we won't have any time. Alright, they just drew the ending off the top. So we get hit for 5 this turn, then we die the next turn. Yeah, I think we're done there. Alright, they drew the answer off the top. Fair enough. It's going to happen sometimes. So I'm pretty happy with how we sideboarded here. We're just going to roll back in. We don't really care about our opponent's sort of aggression here. We can put Pithing Needle on a Stoneforge if we think that's where we want to be. This hand does not have access to a Dark Depths. This hand does also not have access to a Dark Depths, so we're going to be mulling again. This hand does get us where we need to be, but we need the crop rotation to resolve. But that's not always the bestest thing. But we have protection. We have a Yavimaya. So we're just going to be throwing back probably a Ghost Quarter and a Bayou. Since all our lands are Bayous with this configuration. So we'll lead off on this Yavimaya. We hopefully can get through this. But our opponent starting on 7 and us starting on 5 is obviously not where we want to be. We'd rather not fire this crop rotation off if we can avoid it. A Duress. Okay, that's a nice one to have. Our opponent can brainstorm is the only issue here. But this means we know if we can get our crop rotation off or not. Alright, Prismatic Ending, Cauldron Complete. Okay, so we'll take the Swords to Plowshares. And now we know that we can resolve a crop rotation. So, what are we getting rid of? Is it the Urborg or is it the Yavimaya? I think it's the Urborg. It does mean we don't get to Thoughtseize, but it does turn on our future crop rotations. So let's get rid of this. There's no Wasteland over there either, so our opponent might not be running Wastelands at all. So we're going to get the Dark Depths now, while we know the shields are down for our opponent. Next turn we have a 2020 with backup. So hopefully we can protect it. Interesting, they didn't have any Surveil lands to fetch at end of turn there. Alright, so there's a Tundra. So they're probably just going to hold up Bowmasters here, unless they've got something more impressive to do. Alright, so it's over to us. We know that there's an ending here, so we're not going to be playing into that. We're just going to deploy our combo at their end step and hope that our single Not of This World is enough. Our opponent only has 1 blue card, which means Force of Will is still a possibility. But we know all of their cards bar 1. Here comes the Bowmasters. Yep. Again, not a card we care about in our deck. Which is why I quite like Turbodepths right now, because we just... like, Orcish Bowmasters actively helps our deck because it shuts out all the 1/1 flyers that are in that used to be in the format. Like Ice Fang and Baleful Strix, they just kind of disappeared. Which helped us out, so thank you Orcish Bowmasters. So they're going to need to have a counter spell and a removal spell at instant speed here. Or like 2 removal spells. I guess they could have the like an Edict. That would certainly do enough. But we're not going to try and play around an Edict here. We haven't seen Edicts. They've got white removal, so they're less likely to need anything like that because they've just got these really clean answers to things. Right, they're going for a Narset here. Sure. That's pretty good for us. That takes a blue card out of their hand, which means they're less likely to Force of Will and have some kind of removal spell. Like they could have a Solitude here. Alright, a Ponder. So they've got a blue card again. They're going to attack us with this. I'm still not going to block because there's no point, just in case our opponent randomly has like a Lotus Petal or something and just can Prismatic Ending. Taking 2 damage is a-okay. Let's make your friend of mine, Marit. Alright. We managed to get the game there. I think we navigated that one quite nicely. London Mulligan is a powerful rule, so make sure you use it, right? We went to 5 and our hand was still pretty good. That's kind of the power of Turbodepths. Generally, if you keep a 7-card hand with Turbodepths, your win percentage should be like 80%. Right? It should be really high because a 7-card hand means you have your combo sewn up and you have 1 or 2 pieces, like usually 2 pieces of protection to do it. So, but we're on the board. Let's go to round 2. We are 1-0. Alright, our hand is a turn 1 2020, so I'm going to press the keep button. A Noble Hierarch. That's probably not going to do a great deal against what we've got going on. Let's have a Lotus Petal. Let's have a Lotus Petal. Let's have one of these. In comes a Hexmage. Let me play the Dark Depths. Are we playing around a Wasteland? What we can do is if our opponent plays a Wasteland, we just go to our turn and then play a Pithing Needle. Alright, our opponent's scooping up to that one. Turn 1 win. Excellent. So, our opponent played Forest Noble Hierarch. Does that mean our opponent is on Cradle control? Or are they on some kind of Infect list? Although most Infect lists I've seen recently don't have a basic Forest. So I'm more inclined to believe that our opponent is on Cradle control. So that's a matchup where the Abrupt Decays come in handy. So we have these. Wasteland is something where we're going to be wanting that. Bojuka Bog isn't really a tool we need access to in this matchup, in my opinion. Inquisition here is better than Duress, so the fact that we've got 2-1 split in the main is nice. We could trim, if we really wanted the Bojuka Bog, we could bring in, or you could take out the Duress for it, but I think this is probably where I want to be, given what we've seen. If they turn out to be a white deck, and we're going to need these Not of This Worlds, then, well, sure. But we still have a bunch of discard and protection spells, so we should hopefully be able to get around that. If they are in effect, and they do have a basic forest, that's kind of annoying for us, but alright, we're going to mulligan this. This hand is kind of slow, but against a deck that I don't believe has counter spells, I quite like this one. So, what do we need here? So, these are going to fetch both of our pieces, which means our mana's probably going to be tied up, so we only really need one of these. I'm going to keep the Thoughtseize because it's the better one. Yes, it's going to take us some damage, and our opponent's going to be trying to clock us. I think that's fine. Okay, a Windswept Heath. I guess they could be like a Maverick deck. Ignoble Hierarch. Yep. I think my assumption is looking a little bit rosier here. So I think we are playing the Swamp here. Although the reason not to do that is if we draw something like a Crop Rotation and we're more inclined to have a green source there, but we will have a green source here. All right, I'm just going to go with this Swamp, and we're going to Thoughtseize our opponent first. Natural Order, Elvish Reclaimer, Cradle. So we're probably not beating this Natural Order. So let's take the Reclaimer and make it worse. Our opponent can have Thoughtseizes in their deck, so we're going to play out this Lotus Petal. So we could have like ramped out a Sylvan Scrying this turn. But the reason for not doing that is that we need to have... We might want to know what we're tutoring for, because we might only need to tutor once. The Sejiri Steppe will help us out here if they do put an Atraxa in, because we can just like go straight through it. So you're saying we've got some tutors. That's what you're saying. Okay, let's cast the Demonic Tutor basically. I think we take out the Dark Depths here, because this means if we draw the Hexmage next turn, we just get to go. If our opponent draws a land, they do get to put an Atraxa into play, and things get a little bit awkward for us. But we couldn't take both of these natural orders with our Thoughtseize, so you've got to work with the tools you're given sometimes. Sometimes those tools won't be enough. Okay, so our opponent is evoking this so that they can tap the Cradle and then put the natural order on the stack. Take the wheel, Jesus. Let's see how bad this is. I don't think... like, obviously Atraxa is annoying here. So there's some stuff that's going on. They're not usually going to get that many cards out of it. Alright, let's see what they choose. So, 2 Ignoble Hierarchs, they're going to get one of those maximum. So they've gone for Bayou, that they've played. Ignoble Hierarch and Green Sun Zenith. Right, we're a little bit slow here, but we're doing what we can. So I'm going to play out this Thespian stage rather than the Dark Depths. Because this means if we draw a Hexmage and they have a Wasteland, we can still do stuff. Our opponent is odds on to win this one, but it's not a given. They can play out the Hierarch, turn it into... Actually, if they play out Hierarch now and natural order it into Collector Ouphe, is that lethal? That'll be 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, that should be lethal if they just do that. So, let's see if... Canoptech Scarab Swarm. That makes a lot of blockers that we don't actually get through using our Sejiri Steppe. So that's interesting. And then next turn they can use the overrun off of the Collector Ouphe. So getting hit for 8 here. I think our opponent has got this one. Our hand was unfortunately a little bit slow. We did draw the Hexmage though. That's kind of interesting. So this means that we are closer to going off next turn anyway. So we got this one. Sylvan Scrying, get ourselves another Dark Depths for later. Are we just doing this now? I think we might as well. I'm pretty sure we're dead here. We get to block quite a lot of damage with the 2020. That plays around the Wasteland that our opponent can have. They usually have at least one for Elvish Reclaim stuff. So they're gonna... Okay, they're Once Upon a Timing first. But they have like dorks and stuff here. So right, there's a dork. Do they not have... Interesting. They did not have an answer. That's very fascinating. They just must have boarded out their Cradle Ouphe, I guess. Right, so we will attack here because we need to start chunking through these things. Yep. And then we can make another 20/20 to block with. Don't really not have a Cradle Ouphe left in the deck. Right, so attacking with just this little guy. I will still make the 20/20 here. Our life total is a pretty precious resource. Some might say the most precious at this point. Alright, 2 Marital Ages in the field at once. Let's go to blocks. Let's gobble this up. So if we draw an... No, this can't be Abrupt Decay, can it? Because it's CMC 4. Interesting. Alright. We have an Abrupt Decay. What does this mean? What does this mean? We can give our creature protection. That doesn't actually help us here. Alright. We have to pass. Scarab Swarm, good. Now they're just going to overrun us. Fiendy Boy, sure. This is definitely worth hitting with an Abrupt Decay, because this gives them all sorts of agency moving forward. Okay. So we're looking for another Dark Depths, amusingly. I think I'll play out this Urborg. If we attack their block with a Scarab Swarm and kill us on the backswing. And, well, they can even just take 20 because 20 doesn't kill them. So we need to find another Marital Age so we can attack with this one and force a Karen Uptech Scarab Swarm to block. Weird game. What does this do? We can take out their Cradle. That doesn't really achieve very much. We can make ourselves another Marital Age so we can attack, and then the problem is they don't have to block with their Atraxa. How are we getting out of this one? Alright, I guess the plan is attack with Marital Age. Alright, they're going to take the 20 here. Okay, this gives us a line to win in the game, potentially. I'll play out this Yavimaya. So we can make a 20/20 here. Block their guy. Are they just going to find a natural order now? No, they're Once Upon a Timing. They must have boarded out the Cradle Ouphe. That's the only thing that makes sense here. A Fiend Artisan. Okay. That can find some chump blockers down the line. So our opponent's going to attack here. Alright, so we get to clean up this Atraxa. Right, I think we will crop rotate away our forest at this point. We're going to get another Dark Depths. Go make another 20/20. The third Marital Age of the game. So they're going to gain 7 here. That puts them below 20. So how big is this? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is lethal on the crackback. We can't get through this Canoptech Scarab Swarm. They can just find some tools to work with. Yikes. I think we are supposed to take out this guy's Cradle, because that produces so much mana for them. Yeah. This Canoptech Scarab Swarm doing some work here. We don't really have a way to get around it either. Okay, they've just got another Cradle. They're going to go find something pretty spooky, no doubt. They had this the whole time. I'm so confused. Why didn't they natural order? That's so weird to me. What did I miss there? Alright. So, we did sideboard correctly. And I think I'm pretty happy with how things lay. So let's just go back in again. Like, the Bojuka Bog would have like had some text in that matchup, but wouldn't have actually done anything. Like, it might have been something that would have been okay to naturally draw, to like shrink the Fiend Artisan, but the Fiend Artisan wasn't a problem because they still had the Cradle Ouphe. Okay, so what does our hand do? Lots of discard, no combo. What does this one do? This one combos pretty early on. Turn 2, I think. So if we put back the Sylvan Scrying, is that the one we put back? So turn 1, we go Bayou, Thoughtseize our opponent. Turn 2, we have Thespian Stage plus Spirit Guide. So we're pretty close there. We just need another bit of black mana. If we draw a second crop rotation, we can get there. Okay, so we keep this. It's a little bit of a tricky one. I think it's probably the Sylvan Scrying that goes here. We get Bayou. We can crop rotate this away in an emergency. But we do need the black mana for our Hexmage. So no wasteland in our opponent's hand. 2 Reclaimers and a Fiend Artisan. So, are we just taking out the Fiend Artisan and just trying to ignore and see if we can beat the Reclaimers? We should be able to beat the Reclaimers here. If they had 1 Reclaimer, I would definitely take that. But they had 2, so it's kind of redundant trying to do that. Would have Foothills, probably into a Bayou here. Yep, into Reclaimer. No, they drew a Hierarch. That's interesting. That means there's an additional turn before our opponent gets to do any Reclaimering. Okay. This seems good. So we'll play out this Hexmage. So are we playing around Opposition Agent or are we playing around Wasteland? We're playing around both. Alright. I'm going to pass here. Because I don't want our opponent to know what's going on. Okay, so there's a Dryad Arbor. There's the Reclaimer. Opponent has a Noble Hierarch here. They're going to play out another Reclaimer. Okay, so our opponent's dead. Alright, our opponent's scooping up to that. Yeah, so this is quite a good matchup. You don't have to worry about counter spells. They don't have that much to interfere with you. Like, they're not killing your creature while it's in play. They kind of either race you or they kind of chump block and kind of get this horrible, like, pushing a little bit damage here and there. But basically it's the natural order hands that, like, super go off and beat you. But even those we can still get through. Alright, we're 2-0. Let's go to round 3. Right, we're on the play for round 3. What does our opening hand do? Nothing. So let's mulligan. What does this opening hand do? Guess what? It's also nothing. Let's mulligan. What does this hand do? It requires us to draw one of 16 cards in our deck. I think that's honestly acceptable. Obviously, we'd rather not be in this sort of situation, but we've got some agency to work with here. I think we fire off the Urborg first. If you see a Wasteland, I'm going to have a bad time. No Wasteland. Mother of Runes, Skyclave Apparition, and Thoughtseize. The Caracas, not a big fan of that one. Do I want our opponent to know what we're doing? Not particularly. The Skyclave Apparition can take out a Pithing Needle down the line, though. So that's pretty irritating. Yikes. Okay, we'll take out the Skyclave Apparition here, since that does impact our game plan. But if we draw a Vampire Hexmage, and our opponent somehow decides that they don't want to put Caracas into play, then we'll be okay. So our opponent is 80 card, Yorion, and Taxes, but the black-white build. So again, Thoughtseize here. Sure, you can Thoughtseize my Thoughtseize. But they do have the information of what they're playing against now, which can inform some of their choices. Okay, I don't hate this. We're going to name Caracas because that's the thing that is face-up in play. Now, our opponent's deck is going to have a bunch of Wastelands in it as well. But that's just the price we pay sometimes. Some nice choice of basics. Athalia. Okay, so that makes crop rotation even worse. We don't have any green mana for it, so it's already pretty bad. A Thoughtseize. This can take out a Mother of Runes. Is that important? Our opponent also has 1 mystery card. I think it's worth firing this off now. Extraction Specialist. I guess we'll take that. We're not going to play our Dark Depths because it's legendary. So we're trying to draw Thespian Stage. Or Hexmage before it's too late. Are they just going to put Urion's hand? They got Skyclave Apparition. And they're going to... Yeah, so this is why we took the Skyclave Apparition before. As well as the Extraction Specialist can't target the Skyclave. But again, it was a thing that would beat us down and reduce the amount of time we have in this game. So now we have to beat the Caracas with very limited amount of time at this point. So they're clocking for 4. I think we're just going to lose this one. And maybe we're supposed to go to 4 here and try and race. But I quite like the double interaction hand. Like, if we thought they were Death and Taxes rather than, like, 5-color Yorion, it's hard to know which Yorion you're getting these days because they're both pretty rare. But either way, you kind of want the discard spells to hit out their removal spells because, you know, they have a lot of them. Okay, let's have a first striker. So our opponent can't ever tap their Caracas without losing the game. And if we find a Ghost Quarter or a Not of This World or... this is interesting. We get to block here with our first strike, but then they will just Mother of Runes it, so we don't get to block. Okay. Yeah, so if they find... So we can find a Pithing Needle, a Ghost Quarter, a Not of This World. So that's what? 3, 6, 7 draws? Another Hexmage. Okay. That's not great, but it's not terrible either. Are we forcing through 2 damage here? I don't think that's going to make a difference. It might mean that they can't plow one of their guys to survive later on. But we basically have maybe one more draw step. There's a Wasteland as well. That's the problem. Yeah, this matchup's going to be tough. Alright, let's block here. This will force the hand on the Wasteland in a second. Alright. Will it force the hand on the Wasteland? It might. We have another Dark Depth, so we might as well make this play and see if we can work through some of their resources. They should Wasteland in some response. Okay, I'm just going to go for the Caracas line instead. Sure. Yep. Like, we are very much under the gun here. They're just going to hard cast this Yorion in a sec and remove our Hexmage. I think so. Like, we kind of need to play into our opponent making a mistake here. So we just scoop this one up because they're going to flicker this and get rid of this, and then we just don't have a line to 2020 in any sort of reasonable time. So Abrupt Decays are potentially useful here. Duress is an interesting one because it hits some of their things, but doesn't hit all the things we want. So I'm not a big lover of it. The Not of This World is obviously great though. So we've got this selection of things. Pithing Needle is obviously very nice here. We don't require a Bojuka Bog for this matchup. We might require these Boseijus, but they're also green mana, which does help what we're trying to achieve. So that's the beginning, and then we have a number of Abrupt Decays based on how much fast mana we feel comfortable removing. Do I even want to remove any fast mana? It feels like this is a matchup where we do need to go fast, because as the game drags on, they just have so many tools that interact with us. Alright, I think I'm just going to go like this and forego the Abrupt Decays here. The Abrupt Decays aren't amazing. They don't really have like big things that just say no. They might have an opposition agent, but they will not be accelerating the opposition agent out. And if it's getting to the time where they're hard casting opposition agent for 3 mana, we've probably already lost if we're not winning by then, because our opponent's deck should win if the game goes past turn 4, generally speaking, in this matchup. Because they've got Plows, they've got Solitudes, they might have opposition agent, they've got Flicker Wisps, they've got Caracas, they've got Wasteland. You know, the amount of resources our opponent builds up against our deck is a lot. Interesting. This is a turn 2 combo, right? So so this is 2 mana, this is 2 mana. Sorry, 2 mana here, and then we crop rotate this into a Thespian stage, use the 2 mana. Yep, so we'll keep this turn 2 kill here, or turn 2 guy. It might not be good enough though. I think we have a lot of redundancy with our lands here. I think we play out this Urborg first, because our opponent might have surgicals, so we don't want them to surgical our Dark Depths if we have to crop rotate in response to something. A Marsh Flats. You're going to play a Vial, or a Thoughtseize, or a Mother of Runes. That's usually their 1-drops. Okay, it's looking like a Thoughtseize here. We only have 1 green source here, so that's kind of the limiting factor. So we need to fire this one off and go and get ourselves a Thespian stage while we can. We're going to lose this other crop rotation, but we have our combo. We just need to hope it beats what our opponent has in their hand. I'm not very happy with this particular game right now. I don't think we're going to win this one. What are we playing out here? I'll play out the Dark Depths here. I don't believe our opponent's going to have the surgicals, and this stops them having access to like black, if that's a thing that's important to them. Alright, we got a Stoneforge. What would you like to find? A Cauldron. Okay, so they're going for racing. That's understandable. A Hexmage is nice. That means we don't have to give up that much opportunity here. Let's play this. We don't really want to play into their sorcery speed kill spells. And if they play a Wasteland, we can beat it because we have Depths and Stage. No, sorry, we have Depth Stage and Hexmage. Alright, so our opponent is just not doing anything over there. So I think this means we make the guy now, and then we can make another one next turn. That's how we're going to get through our opponent's things. And, you know, they're an 80 card deck. Maybe they don't have it, but we can gain 20 life probably. They're right to do it on their turn here. Sure, we gain 20 life. The big 4-0. So now we have this. We can play around a wasteland, so we're going to make this on our opponent's end step. I think if they had a... Maybe, no, they had to play the white source there. They didn't play a land. Did they play a land last turn? They didn't. Do they have another answer? Like, our hand doesn't get better from here, and this matchup doesn't get better time-wise. So let's just see if this is good. Sometimes you just have to jam, and it's important to know when those times are and when you can afford to play. Like in the first round, we had a lot of time to play around. All right, we're on 60 life. We're going to have some time to work some stuff out. We might be doing a defensive Pithing Needle here to buy us some more time. As sad as that is. Because we already have an answer for a wasteland or something. We're just going to stay Forge Mystic. Because we're going to need some time to try and draw into another combo here. Yeah, this matchup is a little bit awkward, as you can probably see. Thankfully, Death and Taxes isn't very good in the meta right now, and there's not a lot of people playing it. But, yeah. I'm surprised our opponent wasn't attacking with the Stoneforge before. Maybe they just thought we weren't going to go for it, I guess. And they might be able to get their Cauldron in. An Orcish Bowmasters. Yep. In comes the boys. By all means, reduce your life total by 2. A Mother of Runes. Okay, so our removal is not really going to help if we need to push through any blockers. Alright, deck. A Lotus Petal. I think I want to play that out before a Thalia or a Thoughtseize hits us. It can get gobbled up by something like a Skyclave Apparition. We don't really need the mana for too much. Not attacking with the Mother of Runes. Interesting. And not of this world. Well, where were you earlier? That's the question I would like to know. Okay, opponents, you can continue. Like, if they find a third land, they can access all their scary 3-drops as well. Another Bowmasters, that's forced through another point of damage. Like, we've got a lot of life to work with. But our opponent's got a full grip of cards over there, and they're all spells because they're not playing lands. Like, some of them are just going to be 3-drops they can't cast, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some interaction in there. We don't know which half of the combo we're going for, but there's less copies of our Dark Depths, and we'd rather have this getting cast rather than worrying about our opponents. Am I playing this? I think I am. I guess we're not in a hurry. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I'd rather get this into a card that can't be Thoughtseized right now, and this leads us up for Vampire Hexmage lines. Like, if we find a Vampire Hexmage in the next few turns, like, we're odds on, maybe. It depends how many Solitudes they have to pitch, but they only have 1 white source, so they might not be able to fire off 2 removal spells. Although we've already gone through 2 plows. A Bayou. I don't think we're in the... Are we in the slow removing depths counters stage of the game? Like, we have time to do it, right? We remove 3 this turn, and then we can remove 2 the next turn, if we want to. It does expose us to Wasteland. Is that realistically how we're going to win this game? By slow removing counters? I'm not convinced against our opponent's deck full of land destruction that we want to be doing that. This way we can, if they play like a Wasteland or something, we can Boseiju, then untap, play our Dark Depths and combo off. That will give them access to another white source. Also, we do have the Ghost Quarter chilling around as well. Alright. Not the most exciting gaming I've ever seen. Alright, so we have an answer for the Caracas already. A Skyclave Apparition will take out our Pithing Needle. So that's going to increase the clock quite a bit. But we do have an answer for their Caracas. So that's one of our problems solved. I think we can afford to take another hit before we start doing our stuff. Like, we might just have to play out the Dark Depths so that we're more in line for Thespian stage lines. But that does expose us to Wastelands and stuff. So it's just a sort of balancing act of when we play that out based on our life total. But we're going to take, what is this, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 probably this turn. So probably going to want to play it out. Alright, there's a Wasteland as well. A little bit rude. But it is what it is. Okay, so there's the Cauldron complete. Here comes a bit of a bash. Still no Mother of Runes attack. Okay, so our end step is We hit the wasteland first. And then we go to Quarter Caracas. Alright, they would rather just have the land. That's fair enough. Let's see if they leave us on top or not, and then we can surveil it away. We can... Alright. Okay, they decided not to search their library. That's a little bit scary. A Verdant Catacombs. That's not the one, but I think we have to play out the Dark Depths now. Because they could kill us in 2 turns. We're going to need that mana available. So they should be swinging with all of their guys here. Okay, they got a wasteland as well. I think we are just absolutely cooked here. Oh my god, swing with your Mother of Runes, please. It puts us on a 2-turn clock. Like, you're probably going to win anyway. But, like, what are you saving this Mother of Runes for? What do you need to protect, right? Flicker Wisp, what are you going to flicker here? Is it just the... Okay, the Bowmasters. Okay, so that is still a 2-turn clock as well anyway. I guess, but maybe they could have won slightly earlier if they'd been attacking with Mother of Runes. I don't know. I'm just not sure why the Mother of Runes is protecting things. A Vampire Hexmage. Well, we're going to cast this into the onboard wasteland because we don't have any other choice. Oh, we're just in. Our opponent can obviously wasteland in response to our Hexmage. So we do have a slight problem there. But maybe our opponent will misclick. So how much is this? Oh dear. Alright, let's just get it over and done with. Are you going to misclick, opponent? They will not misclick. Yeah, so we got bodied pretty hard. This is not a great matchup, to be honest with you. It's kind of a weird one, right? Like, if we're going off on turn 1 or 2, we're quite heavily favoured. Because we just usually need to get through one piece. And our deck's kind of quite well designed to get through one piece. But basically, turn 3 onwards, we're kind of cooked. And I would say most games are going to be like turn 3-ish. So I'm not really a fan of the Death and Taxes. Alright, we are 2-1, let's go to round 4. Alright, this is pretty good. We have Thoughtseize into turn 2 combo. I will take that. We also have protection. This is kind of what I mean about the 7-card hands with this deck being pretty bananas. We lead off on the Urborg here, because that makes our line a little bit cleaner. Right, Thoughtseize, do your worst. Crop rotation, exploration, savannah of wasteland, a bunch of annoying things is what you're telling me. We're getting rid of here. Is it the crop rotation probably? Okay, this is a little bit annoying. This is not a great matchup for us either because the whole deck is basically built to mess with our lands. So we're probably going to see savannah, exploration, wasteland this turn. Yep. Now, will they fire this wasteland off is the question. They will. Are we crop rotating right now? Like, lands are kind of a premium resource for us here. They do have a life from the loam. Oh, this puts us in a horrible bind. Because next turn they just go and get this wasteland back. Yikes. Alright. So we get a Bojuka Bog and just take this wasteland out forever. But how are we comboing is the question. We could also get the Dark Depths and hope to draw a piece of fast mana, like a Lotus Petal. I don't think that's a realistic thing, but if we don't... like the Boseiju is also like a massive pain. Yeah, we can't just let them get the wasteland. Alright, I hate this play. But I think we're under the gun. Yeah, our hand was pretty good, but this matchup is not, unfortunately. We need them to not have a wasteland straight up. Okay, so our plan here is... we go and get a Bayou, jam a creature, turn it sideways 10 times. It's not a great strategy, but it's the one we've got. So we've hopefully put them in a bit of a spot where they kind of don't want to play this Boseiju, but they might have to. If we don't have a second land, they're going to want to play it so they can get this Life from the Loam going. Alright, they've found another wasteland. That sucks. Okay, they are playing the Boseiju out though. That is interesting. So I think they're going to wasteland us and then Life from the Loam. Yep, so our plan is very much, can we beat them with our 2-1 guy? Yep, what a annoying exchange this game has been. Oh, nearly. Nearly could have another one. Double our powerful, powerful clock. Do I think this Sejiri Steppe is useful to have in play? No. Do I think it's useful to have in hand? Also no. I think we're just going to run this now so that we can have more lands to cast some spells with. Because this way, if they wasteland us again, we can still draw an Urborg and deploy a Hexmage. There is a wasteland. So another reason why this matchup is horrible, aside from the fact they've got wastelands and Swords to Plowshares and Caracas and crop rotations and stuff, and Boseijus, is the fact they also have the Thespian stage combo themselves. So we can't play a Dark Depths out because they might be able to just get us with it. Alright, so they're just doing the double wasteland here. That was fun. What is our solution here? I guess we keep going until they find a win condition, right? That's all we've got. Let's hope all their win conditions in like the bottom 10 cards of their library, and then we'll be okay. Still no win condition there. We have very little agency in this game, as you can probably imagine. Right, more Life from the Limb action, more Wasteland action. Expedition map, so that provides them a win condition. If we draw a land, we can Pithing Needle. Okay. So, obviously Pithing Needle Wasteland might be a useful thing, but we're going to lose this game if we don't stop this expedition map going on. Or we can Pithing Needle Thespian stage, so that they can only ever slow make it, but then they just get the Heirs of Saga, so we have to Pithing Needle the expedition map here. Which is sad, but them's be the breaks. Yep, goodbye land. Oh dear. The plays you have to make sometimes. Alright. Can I go all the way with this little vampire? Alright, I found an Heirs of Saga. Can we beat the Heirs of Saga? No. I think we're just going to scoop and save our time here. Alright, we had a good hand, but this matchup is pretty grim, as it turns out. So, what are we looking for here? Our Not of This World is probably one we want to have access to. Pithing Needle is one of the best cards on our deck. When lands was really strong, I even played Sorcerer's Spyglass briefly. That's how bad the match was. I don't think we want the Leyline in the Void. Like, it can stop them recurring stuff with Loam. But the issue with that is it doesn't stop the things in play. So I guess the question is, what is coming out? So these sorts of effects aren't incredible here, truth be told. But they are still playable. Sejiri Steppe is useful if our opponent makes their own Marit Lage. So if we wanted to play these Leylines, that would give us 2 discard spells. So we could run 2 Inquisition of Kozilek or 2 Thoughtseize. Probably 2 Thoughtseize, because they might have Force of Vigor, which is a thing we might want to hit. How do I feel about this? Our opponent looks like they're on the white build with the Savannah, so they probably have Plows. Does that mean we want more hand disruption? I think we want the speed because we need to kind of get underneath what our opponent's doing. So maybe the Leyline. Maybe the problem with the Leyline is that it's too, not slow, but it is trying to play a longer game. But we can't really play a longer game against our opponent's deck because of the way it works. So that's interesting. Maybe we're supposed to. I've tried lots of different sideboard plans against lands, and none of them have worked, is what I'm saying. So maybe if we just, I think Duress is going to be better. Here, maybe we'll have a Miser's Leyline. It could come up. But our plan is to go under our opponent here because we're not going to win a protracted game. There's too many layers of things to deal with. Like, they might even have a Ghost Quarter on top of the Wastelands and that sort of jazz. What does this hand do? It does not make a 2020 quick enough. Or mulligan. This makes a 2020 on turn 2. Is it turn 2? Well, no, wait, it's not turn 2. So we make, turn 1 we do this and Sylvan Scrying. No, this is a turn 3. Is that too slow? I think so. We're just going to have to go hard here. Okay, the Pithing Needle hand, though, that is an acceptable hand. Our opponent's mulligan to 6. So, what are we keeping with this hand? Like, I want to keep both Pithing Needles, weirdly. We already have this. I don't think we're going to need this Lotus Petal. And there's a case of, do we want to keep this Sylvan Scrying to find our combo piece, or do we just want double Pithing Needle to make sure it sticks? Like, we have 16 cards to draw if we throw back this Sylvan Scrying. I think we're going to throw back the Scrying and have this weird turtle up hand here. We play the Urborg in case we draw the Hexmage. So step 1, Pithing Needle on Wasteland. Step 2 is Pithing Needle on Caracas. Or possibly as a Saga. But we'll see what our opponent plays. There's a Mox Diamond. Goodbye Wasteland. Yep, makes sense. They can always get that back later when they require it. So we play out the Dark Depths, our opponent can Thespian stage. So we do not want to play out the Dark Depths yet. We will be helping our opponent's colours if we play this Yavimaya. Alright. Let's play out this Pithing Needle. So I think the play here is... This is a really tough choice. Because if we name Thespian stage, we shut off one of our own lines, but we stop our opponent from being able to get us that way. If we name Caracas... Oh, this is horrible. I think we are naming Thespian stage here. We don't want our opponent to be able to copy our Dark Depths, because we basically will struggle to combo off, because they've got lots more control pieces than we have. Tranquil Thicket. We haven't seen those for a little while in lands. I like them though. I like the cycle lands. Pretty good against dodging Graveyard Hate, because you can just cycle in response to any hate and get your lane back. But our opponent might also have Marit Lage combo in their hand, and this will stop them. We can combo with Hexmage. Our opponent cannot. What we can do is start removing counters from our Dark Depths. If I didn't have a Thespian stage, I would be more inclined to name the Caracas. But the fact is we won't ever get to slip in our combo without them having the Thespian stage. Life from Loam, I think? Yeah. Alright, so they've got a draw engine going. I guess we are... do I want to duress? Or do I want to just start removing counters? What would I be trying to duress away? A crop rotation, they can fire off in response. A force of vigor, they might be able to fire off in response. I think our spot here is, let's just start removing counters from our Dark Depths. As horrible as that is. Alright, we lose the force of vigor here. But again, they would fire it off in response. But I guess we wouldn't play the Dark Depths out if they fired it off in response. But this is a horrible matchup. We're going to have to take some weird lines to get through it. Right, let's just do this and get our F6 value. Alright, opponent. How bad is this going to be for us? Alright, they had the force of vigor. That's us done. Alright, yeah. So if we'd have duressed first, then we just don't play out the depths, but then what are we doing? Like I said, sometimes you have to take a weird line because your options are so bad. And we've just had back-to-back really horrible matchups to take us to 2-2. These are probably the two worst matchups right now, I would say. Like the 5-colour Beanstalk that kind of doesn't really exist anymore. It's just kind of been pushed out so much. That's also a really bad matchup, and like bank control. So that's probably what we're going to find in the last round. But we are 2-2. Let's see if we can get 3-2. We don't actually have a route to a 2020, so we can do better than this. This also doesn't have a route to a 2020. I think we can do better. Welcome back to Mulliganing to Oblivion. Nah, 5-card hands are still pretty good on our deck, so. Okay, this requires us to find a black source. I will keep this. 2 cards have got to go. I think we're going to put back a Scrying. And then it's a case of, do you want protection or do you want hand disruption? I think hand disruption is more likely to just be useful. So, like, it's always going to have targets to hit. So we're probably getting Swamp into... Oh, okay. Our opponent is doing this. We can remove the counters from their Hickory Woodlot, which is quite funny. Alright, so the Sylvan Scrying came back. Also, showing us this means that we're safe to fetch a Bayou here. Our opponent is on the, like, Cascade deck. I think we... Inquisition here. I'm trying to take, like, the Violent Outburst. Just slow them down a bit. Okay, they do not have anything. Alright, so they're not going until they have 5 mana, so next turn we can just strip away their creative technique. A Mossfire Valley. The next time they can play this Crystal Vein and pop the creative technique, so we just take that from our opponent now. A Throes of Chaos. Yikes. Well, the thing is, creative technique does just win them the game most of the time. Throes of Chaos can whiff a little bit. So I guess we're taking... Alright. Might be a little bit tough, but we'll see. Our opponent is not really going to interact with us on any meaningful level, though. apart from smashing our face. So they're going to Throes of Chaos, hit into Violent Outburst, or Tilbot's Trickery, and then if it's a Violent Outburst, it hits a Tilbot's Trickery. Right, so drew an Ancient Tomb. Throes of Chaos, you say? Anything unusual in their deck? No. Just the normal things, really. Alright. They get to Cascade in their Violent Outburst, so hit Tilbot's Trickery. This is probably my least favourite deck in Legacy. Just, there's no play to it is the problem, and I just don't understand playing Legacy and not having play to it. Like, obviously our opponent might just be trying to smash some quick leagues out or whatever, you know, no fault on your opponent playing something you don't like. But for me, I just think playing Legacy, which is like the most interactive format going, you want to be able to do that instead of just like, here's my thing, is it good? Like, yes, I am playing a Turbodepths deck, but we have loads of interaction and loads of ways of like manipulating what's going on. You know, we've got tutors to try and find bits and pieces. We've got to sort of puzzle our way through. It's like a game of chess. Instead of do we cast our spell. Right, so we're probably dead this turn. So this Apex Devastator is going to just put a bunch of stuff into play. Alright, they're demonstrating. This gives us some potential agency. I will cast our Lotus Petal. Alright, we're creative techniquing again. What are we going to get this time? A Sylvan Scrying. We don't really have a land that's going to help us here, do we? We are just cooked. I go Boseiju. I don't think it's going to matter here. Trumpeting Carnosaur. Alright, we're going to get another card. Alright, we're getting a 2-2 blocker. That's unlikely to be good enough here. It is possible they don't all have haste this turn. Okay, Atali, Primal Conqueror. This gets like a top card from our library and a card from our library and a card from their library. This is Apex Devastator. As soon as they get the guy that gives them all haste, then we can scoop it up. Like, they can also just like whiff. Like they might not get more creatures than they currently have, and we might be able to somehow figure our way through. So how many creatures they got? So we block the 10-10, and we take 10, 7, 7. No, I think we're just dead here, aren't we? Alright, I don't really want to sit through the rest of that either. So, yep. Our opponent is going to be one that we want to be duressing a bunch. This is a matchup where playing the Rainbow Depths build is a lot better, because you get access to Deafening Silence, which shuts them down pretty hard. So this is not a Bojuka Bog matchup. I don't think it's a Not of This World matchup either, but is it Pithing Needle? Pithing Needle can stop Trumpeting Carnosaur. It can stop some of their bounce guys if they have them. So they might have Colossal Sky Turtle, but again, that kind of ruins their chain. I just don't think they're doing... I guess we might want to name Boseiju with this, actually. So we'll take out this Not of This World. Just have these in. And go fast, I guess. Go fast and disrupt their hand. We want the classic turn 1 or turn 2. That's what we're looking for. So close. Oh, why couldn't you be an Urborg Thespian stage? If this was an Urborg, this hand would be bananas. So what are we doing with this hand? We get to Thoughtseize, and then we don't really have anything. I think we can do better. This has a lot of disruption. And then we can kind of combo off at our leisure. Maybe. Like, our opponent's got a lot of draws. I think this is acceptable given how weird this matchup can be. Alright, so we'll take out this Violent Outburst. And then we can take out the Throes of Chaos next turn, and then the... what's the next one after that? The Creative Trickery. And then hopefully 20-20 them in the heart. Dwarven Ruins. Right, we'll take out the Throes of Chaos, so they can't cast that. Actually, they can cast next turn because they can just retrace it, can't they? Yeah, that's kind of an issue. Right, we're going to get another Bayou here. We're going to Duress away the Creative Technique. Alright, so the reason we played the Bayou out there is if we draw a Vampire Hexmage, we can go next turn. The way this punishes us is if we draw a piece of fast mana. Because we would have been able to go if we played the Thespian stage, we don't get as much disruption. So our opponent is going to retrace the Throes of Chaos, I believe. But if this whiffs, which it can do, it can Trickery into Trickery, then we might be okay. So we need our opponent's deck to fail a little bit. Okay, so found a Violent Outburst. Yep. Found the Trickery. Trickery targets the Outburst. Now what do they find? A Creative Technique. Okay, so they're probably away here. They are demonstrating. This doesn't do anything. I'm not going to bother casting it. So we need them to whiff a little bit here. But we're kind of hands off here. Okay, they hit into a Trickery. We need them to hit into more Trickeries. Emrakul the Eon's Torn. Oh well, sure. Yuck. Well, that was a bit of a sad one. It's not really a deck that I particularly have any cards for in our sideboard because, you know, a little bit of hand disruption, go fast, maybe that's okay. But it's not really a deck that a lot of people play because, like I said, it has 0 agency when you play it. And, you know, it's not great, to be honest. If you're playing, like, you're unlikely to see it in, like, bigger events. Like, you may get somebody trying to sort of cheese some people with it here and there. But I don't think it's worth trying to sideboard against. But if you are in Rainbow Depths, you do get the ability to Deafening Silence them, which, you know, shuts them down pretty hard. So we finished with a 2-3 record, which is not great. However, during that, we faced 2 of our worst matchups, both of which are about 1% of the meta each at the moment. I think lands is about 3, actually. So that's like about 4% of the meta we kind of got hit by. And then we got hit by the Creative Technique deck, which is less than 1%. So, like, our bad matchups in the meta right now, like, are actually bad matchups. Are probably, I don't know, maybe 20% of the meta, if that. Because, like, it's basically Rhinos, Bant Control, lands, Green-White Depths, Death and Taxes, that sort of thing, are, like, our bad matchups. We've got some 50-50 matchups, which we can, you know, try and split and do stuff. But generally, we've got pretty good matchups at the moment. We're good against Rescaminator and regular Scam. We're very good against Delver decks. We're good against Cradle Control, you know. So I think our deck is well positioned, but, you know, sometimes you're going to run into decks that are bad. That's part of the joy of Magic, right? You're going to run into decks that are bad for you because variance plays a big part in Magic. Not just, like, the cards you're drawing, but the matchups you get. And sometimes we can't deal with that. And that's what happened today, really. Like, the deck still felt very sweet. We didn't play against any of the decks where I really wanted the Leylines. I wanted to play against some Rescaminator and try and see how the Leylines felt in that matchup. Obviously, I know they're going to be great in Dredge, but I think that's something I'd be interested to test out. And obviously, I'm going to be playing more Turbodepths on my channel. It's my signature deck, so we will be seeing more of this. But yeah, I like the list. I also like the swapping of the... So the last build I played had 2 Duress. Is that right? Did it have 2 Duress, 1 Inquisition, or was it the other way around? I can't remember now. Actually, no, I think we're still on 2 Inquisition, 1 Duress. Or no, that's it. No, we had 3 Inquisition last time, right? And I've swapped one of the Inquisitions for a Duress. Because sometimes you're going to want the Duress. And just splitting up a little bit is handy. You don't really want to get flooded with Inquisition of Kozilek in your hand, necessarily. But, yeah, I don't really have any other comments for the deck today. I think it, you know, when we played against matchups that weren't very, very poor for us, you know, it went pretty well. And we got to leverage some interesting tools and play some nice Magic the Gathering. And if you're interested in this deck, by all means, check out my Patreon. I have lots of content on there about it. And by all means, join the Discord and ask me any questions you have. I'm more than happy to answer them. I play this deck an awful lot, as you probably imagine. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.